This is the Homecoming with the Downing Brothers podcast, where we talk about real estate, business, and financial literacy. They live by the motto, dream, plan, execute. Your host, Anthony and Anton Downing.
Welcome to Homecoming with the Downing Brothers. This is Anthony. This is Anton. Man, who do we have today? We have Sarah Ware. Sarah Ware. Sarah Ware has so many titles. I didn't even try to memorize all the responsibilities. Can you please tell these people all the things that you do? Yeah, run that list, man. That list. So many board of directors right now.
Well, the best title is daughter and sister. So after that, then I'm a broker. But I do serve on a few boards in the city of Chicago that's wrapped around real estate. So I am on the board of directors for the Chicago Association of Realtors, the National Association of Realtors, Illinois Realtors, the Cook County Land Bank, and the Chicago Bungalow Association. So I'm pretty busy in the real estate world, and even though it sounds like a lot, they each have its own little space in my nook of business.
Excellent. I can't wait to dive into all of that because we've been involved in one of those aspects, and we'll talk about that later. Yeah. But this is Homecoming, so we always have to start with you telling us about where you're from, where is home, and when you were growing up, what was your first exposure to real estate business or financial literacy?
So I am a Southsider, brick, born and raised in Chicago, from Pullman, but I currently live in South Shore.
South Shore, stand up. I'm in South Shore myself.
That's right, East Side. Anyway, so financial literacy and real estate, I was first introduced. I used to always read the paper as a family. So I'm from a large family. I'm one of five. And, I grew up in a house in Pullman. It wasn't anything fancy, but it was, ownership. So I knew, our parents took us through the bill paying process. And, I thought that was a normal way of living. We read the paper on Sundays. Just as a whole, I used to read the sale papers and do the crossword puzzles. So as I got older, I would just be enamored with the real estate section. Mm-hmm. And so as I turned, after corporate world and then turning into an entrepreneur in real estate, servicing clients, especially in underserved communities, it kind of it kind of shocked me of how many people that are wanting the dream of home ownership, but they really don't know about it because I took for granted that I grew up around it. And so that's part of my mission. But as far as real estate, I was always reading books, just looking at newspapers and things like that, because my family, they were not big TV people. They were very focused on making sure that we excel in education when it comes to reading books and just learning what's out there from a newspaper standpoint.
Okay. The newspaper,
and I still read it. I can't. We still go over there. My parents get the Sunday paper. I flip it. I look at the crossword puzzles. I see what the real estate section. Because it was some line. I can't remember who said it, but they say you want to hide something from people of color, put it in a newspaper or a book. So
I heard that.
Yes,
I
right.
heard that one before.
I know, but I didn't want that to be true. But you see how few and few people read, and then now with social media and all these things, you're just getting so much information. It's hard to decipher. So as a avid newspaper reader, I'm able to kind of decipher between the fake news and what's real.
Yeah, I remember when we were shorties, looking at the Sun-Times and looking at that real estate section and seeing the pictures of the houses or seeing the names of neighborhoods I wasn't familiar with.
Right.
The open houses in Beverly on Saturday are going to be from 1 to 3 at these addresses, and we'd be like, we going to all these.
Well, it wasn't like it was our idea. It was our mom. My mom, she was the one who packed us in the car.
Right.
And we
walked through that house like my mother was really considering buying this house.
Yeah, we actually started to get into character, knowing that we supposed to act like we really want to live here and stuff. And
it was fun. And I'm sure as you think back as to what you're doing today, you didn't really realize how much of an impact that made on you today, especially if you look at houses. And then when you see other people that may not have had that exposure, you're like, oh, okay. So, you look at your parents like, wow, they really shaped us for kind of how we are turning out as adults in our adult life.
Right. Exactly. So, wait. But before you get on to this next thing, man, I just want, to just point out, and if you all are listening to this on the podcast, please do go to the YouTube so y'all can see the studio. We actually do have a flag of the city of Chicago right here, and our guest is definitely from the city of Chicago.
Southside.
You'll also notice the Bahamian flag off to the side because we are Bahamian. That's off the coast of Florida right there for y'all that didn't pass geography.
Bring up some weather back.
And a bunch of our merch. From Be Creative is one of our designers, and you see, Dream, Plan, Execute, all of that stuff.
So how do we get some of this merchandise? That was not planned.
Right. How we going to get this merchandise? You go to the DowningBrothers.com or you come to our events and you see it. All right. So, I mean, we did just go off on a tangent about the merchandise.
Yeah, but the studio looks different, though, man. I mean, it's not. We're not going to acknowledge that. I mean, we even have, like, the official, pop of the Bahamas back here. If y'all look, Bahamas Goombay Punch, because, we just want to rep that real quick.
And this is why I always wanted a twin.
All right. So he said what was important to him. And now let's get back to your story, Sarah.
We're dialing it back. We're bringing it in, reeling it in. Okay.
All right. So,
and I don't have a story, just
No, hey, we all have a story to tell. So, at what point did you make that turn? And you said, because you said you were in corporate America first before you became a realtor.
So I was in corporate America. I started at J.P. Morgan Chase. It was First Chicago at 17 after high school. And I went downtown and saw about a few buildings. I said, I want to work at, it was 3 buildings, Arthur Anderson, First Chicago, was a couple other buildings. So I went and applied and, got a job. My friends went off to college and I got a job, and I said, okay. I assumed after that, I had never lived in an apartment, so I got an apartment, and then I wanted to buy a condo. So by 19, I had my first condo. My friends was like, my most successful friend had 401k. So it didn't register to me because that's just how my parents were. Blue collar, work hard, and you just save money and just do it that way. So I ended up getting, and it was in the somewhat the real estate industry, in banking. It was relocating offices. So we would work out the leasing and things like that. And so fast forward, I worked in corporate for 3 different firms. They were property management firms. So they were always based around real estate. So I got my license in 1997, still working in corporate America. And then it was a company that I was, doing some work for them. And they were doing large projects. They started the project on the 95th and Stony Island mall. So the company owned that, and I kept saying, why don't they do anything on the south side? Because they would do these studies that show, all the type of business we wanted were nail salons, athletic wear, and hair, like beauty supply. And so I said, no, we shop everywhere. The study is not going to tell the whole story. So I kept going back and forth with them. I said, well, how about if I work on some projects like this? And so they, said yes, but not really. And so I ended up becoming a landlord while I was in corporate America. I always thought that was a great path of homeownership because I ended up buying a condo. That first condo, what I thought to be my forever condo, bought it for $60,000. 5 years later, I sold it for $100,000. Bought another condo for like $170,000 after that. Saved some money, bought because I always wanted to keep the same or lower payment. Right. Sold that 5 years later for $270,000. Bought a house, rehabbed it in South Shore. Bought an older house, updated in South Shore, and that's where I have been for the last 13 years.
So that was your third one.
That was my third one, but in the process, I ended up having 5 units. I was buying 2 flats, 2 units and single units in the process.
Okay, good.
So I would buy like a couple of condos I bought from the developer, flipped it when they broke ground, and then made money that way. Took that money and reinvested it in myself. Right. And so that kind of laid the groundwork for saying, okay, I never was like I want to be an entrepreneur, because my grandmother would just, tell you the nuggets, like save your money, make sure you have it in 3 banks, Seaway, Citibank, the old school banks. Right. But I never was one that says, but then I was like, well, if I quit my job, I can find another one. And so I had to sit my parents down because, old school, you have a good job. They just want to make sure I was making the right decision. And I said, I have enough, but as you find as entrepreneurs, what is really enough? Because you end up going there. But I figured if I take a chance on myself, you don't want to take a chance on yourself, who will? So in 2005, I left corporate America and started selling residential real estate, just trying to sell in the community, just helping out people. And then, that was the crash. So I kind of came in when it was a downturn. Right. And I had worked for a firm that was certified as a minority-owned business and had projects with the city of Chicago. So they kind of mentored me up. Because it was never the intent to me to have, I had a business partner. We started out in 2007 as a partnership, and then that dissolved in 2014. But along the way, it just kind of made contacts, which in turn is why I ended up on boards, because that gave exposure to my business. I'm not a large corporation, but that was a way to get my name out there. Free advertising, you volunteer for things that's passionate. And, it's not shocking in the real estate world. It's not that many people that look like me that's in the room. So I wanted to make sure we had a voice. And so I follow policies. I go to D.C. to lobby on behalf of real estate issues. So I'm very involved from that standpoint. So when people see that, they're like, oh, okay, she kind of knows, she speaks well, the whole what people say that whole
so well when you code switch for this event and whatnot.
Right. And so people go back and forth with the should you do that or whatever, but to me I couldn't afford the big sponsor dollars or the large staff things to get in the room. So that was a way of me getting in the room, going to events, and then now I'm working with the city of Chicago, and in addition to working with larger corporations, I'm able to stand on my own where they know my name, they value what I do, and I've been in the market so long when it comes to market data and market research. I'm a solid resource, and I'm invested in the community. So it's not like you have developers that are far away, like you guys are in the community. You understand day to day, and you're on the south side. So when somebody says something and you say something, it is a solid. I know this. I rehab this. I know these blocks. I've been on these blocks. So that's kind of what my frame of mind is.
Awesome. And so that's how
the layup.
Yeah, well, that actually kind of led into how we met in the first place, right? So the Cook County Land Bank Authority, right? So tell us a little bit about the Cook County Land Bank Authority and how you found your way there. Like, who introduced that to you? And
Okay, so that was formed, I can't remember how long ago. So I'm on the board from day one. And so there's a realtor seat on the board. There are different seats. They have an environmental person. They have somebody from the city. So they had a real estate seat. So the board at the time, they wanted somebody that was south and west side, service the community, and had some knowledge of the nuances. And it's an appointment with Tony Preckwinkle. So they asked someone else, but he lived in Burr Ridge or somewhere.
Out in the suburbs.
Yes, in the suburbs. So it was like, no, we want somebody, So now they put me on the board to kind of understand the nuances of Cook County. They said because she wanted to make sure they lived in Cook County. So that's a program where they're looking to bring back communities by rehabbing, using developers from the community to rehab homes. And that's why I was fortunate enough to meet both of you, because I think was that the second house you did with us?
No, actually, that was the first one.
That was the first one, but I think you may have been the only group that were chosen to actually. No, the home giveaway last year, there was a couple of them, but we haven't had so much PR around when you guys came along. So
we brought a lot of PR.
You brought the PR. They ended up bringing PR in. So because the free home giveaway, I'm sure it was we had maybe 3 or 4 times the amount of people that applied for the home this year. So I want to thank you guys both for that. And it was a very nice home. I don't want to say the address, but it was a nice home. So I was introduced to you all and your passion about rehabbing and making sure that it's community based and just the care that you take with not only the client but the product. And it's never you never hear like, oh, I'm not making any money on this deal, and money was never a conversation with either of you.
It's bigger than that.
So I mean, but at the end of the day, of course you want to make some money, but that's never been the top 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. I think most developers are looking like, what's my bottom line? We know that's a given because you can't do anything for free.
Right.
But we just appreciate the fact that the I'm sure the tenant, the owner, she was hugging all over you all and just
man.
So
that was one of the most feel good moments in real estate that I've ever had.
And most people are shying away from their product. Like I work for people that flip home. They never want to know. I don't want to be the developer. Don't tell them who I am because they've had I don't know. It's just a different feel. So I definitely appreciate the guy. And then I'm hoping that people are taking note of what you all are doing and then they follow suit because I know you can't do it alone. But if people are following what you do, because it's like, okay, look, we can do it. We know your mom is everywhere, and we know because you guys give her kudos. But with so much negative stories that are happening in Chicago, just being from Chicago, I know that there are good stories. And I know they tell your stories, but they're telling more negative than positive, and that's why people post. I'll never post anything on my website or Facebook page that's negative because media does that. Right. So the things that you guys are posting on your Instagram page, that's just a positive direction from a real estate, because real estate now, it's so much attention on the actual business. Reality TV, coast to coast. You see you all traveling, talking about it. Everybody is curious about it. And I like that because there's no ceiling in what you can make. But the level of professionalism there's that, okay, I want to, the quick hustle. And I think a lot of people are getting caught up in that. And so there's credit repair, financial literacy. There's no quick way to. I just read a story now that they have these 9 digits that you can buy. I forgot what they call them. But people are buying these 9 digits like a Social Security number, and they are using it in place of a Social Security number. And so one girl, she went to jail, and
so this is not good then. Don't do it. Don't do it. Hey, for the homies out there, whatever she's talking, if you know what she's talking about, don't do it.
No, if somebody gives you another number that's not your Social Security number, don't use it as your Social Security number. That's the,
Right.
You can't buy a car with it. So I appreciate the financial literacy.
That would be fraud.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the word.
Right. So I just want to go back to the Cook County Land Bank.
Okay.
Once we were approached about doing the renovation for the third annual home giveaway. Yeah, shout out to Rob Rose when he approached us with that. Once I realized what the mission of the Cook County Land Bank was, I was sold immediately, because I know that we get these opportunities. When it comes to money, we do okay. We're fine.
Right.
And so now we're beyond that point. Now it's like, okay, how can we help people, and how can we make the city that we love so much? Because I love Chicago. I work, live, I'm in the community. I go to whatever elementary school, high school appearance they want us to make. Whatever it is, I'm there because we, like you said, there's not enough good stories, and people need to realize, like, we're just some ordinary guys who are from Chicago just like everybody else, and you can make choices to change your life. I thought you were about to say, I'm sorry, I thought you was about to say something.
No.
I thought that was a twin moment. Was that a twin moment?
No, you said all that. I mean, that's the reason why we have this giant Chicago flag right here, because we are very proud of Chicago. It's like, I've been to cities where people weren't really that proud of their city or whatever. Like, nah, this is a world-class city, regardless of how people may try to make a pinpoint on Auburn, Gresham, or Inglewood all day, every day. Like, there's no, like, the Chicago doesn't have 50 other neighborhoods.
Right. Yeah, and actually, even if you are pointing out those neighborhoods, guess what now? Inglewood is changing rapidly. And if you are not paying attention to when new infrastructure is going up, when you see on the corner of 63rd and Halsted, a Whole Foods and an entire strip mall go up, when you see streets and their pipes are getting completely redone and they get an entire new thoroughfare going through the city, when you see Lakeshore Drive or a section of the Dan Ryan getting repaired, when you see all this infrastructure going on and the neighborhood hasn't started yet, that's the first sign
right away.
That is the first sign.
Yes.
What I'm saying is that's the first sign. The second sign, after you see that infrastructure go up, is that then you'll start to see people starting to buy lots and buy vacant properties, and they'll do that renovation, and you'll see some people move into that house, and then you'll see a second one or a third one. This is if you're really paying attention.
Or reading.
Or reading about it, right? Reading these articles about where the developers are, how the demographics are changing, who's moving into these neighborhoods. And if you don't realize until after the neighborhood becomes like out of your price range, shame on you for not paying attention to what's going on around you.
But y'all can pull up to our properties, for open houses, and we'll let you see what we're doing, because we're gonna be there already.
Right. So I mean,
if it's still available, because
But I guess the point I'm getting at, though, is that you have to pay attention to the changes in the so-called bad neighborhoods, because the so-called bad neighborhoods are where the best opportunities are. You win on the buy. You win on being there early. You win on being a trailblazer. You win by having vision. If you have vision, then you can take advantage of those things. And there's so many opportunities at the Cook County Land Bank to bring us back full circle.
Right, because I'm thinking of Pullman. I mean, David Doig, he's doing a lot of changes. There was that Amazon that they're talking about there, and then when you see the Lakeshore Drive, all of a sudden they're putting those bridges over, because there weren't bridges on the south side. It's never been bridges. So all of a sudden,
I knew something was happening.
Right. I'm like, oh, okay. So so that's just follow the infrastructure.
Follow the infrastructure, and then start driving up and down those neighborhoods and seeing
infrastructure.
Follow the infrastructure. Yeah, there you go. You got a hashtag. There you go, Sarah.
It is 2020, man. You have to have a 2020 vision.
Right.
For real.
All right, so I'm going to go to a real estate, excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm going to the homecoming event, and it's real estate related because we're here with Sarah.
Okay.
And so
man, you going to go right over the definition of the day?
Do you really want your definition of the day right now?
Absolutely, man.
All right, well, you know what?
I want a twin.
He wins. He wins. We're going to go to Anton's definition of the day.
Definition of the day is minority business enterprise.
A minority business enterprise is an American designation for businesses which are at least 51% owned, operated, and controlled on a daily basis by one or more in combination American citizens of the following ethnic minority and or gender, that means woman-owned, groups. African American, Asian American, Hispanic American, and all of the different, like countries that kind of like speak to that, including like, West Asian Americans, East Asian Americans, etc. This is kind of an important minority business enterprise, particularly in Chicago, because the large commercial projects that are going on in the city of Chicago, and I would like to think in a lot of other major cities, have to have a minority business enterprise attached to the project.
Yes.
Yeah. So can you speak to that a little bit?
Yes. So that is one of the main designations, and there are other designations: women, WBE, Women Business Enterprise, DBE, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, and there are, some cities have different ones, but those are the main three. And so in larger cities, if there is a contract that has any federal funds tied to it, they have to have particularly more than likely 25% minimum of a minority participation in addition to a woman participation between 5 and 6%. So the total contract, if it's $10 million, 25% of that has to be minority and 5% has to be woman-owned. And that could be a variation of 5 businesses at 5%, whatever the combination is, has to total 25%. So this is kind of how I have carved my niche out in the real estate world, because I know people don't really think about real estate in the government, but the federal government is one of the largest owners of real estate. And so when you see city-owned properties, when you talk about leases, property management, when you see any supplies, food service industries, all of that ties into you. So that takes it from me thinking about real estate from a buy and sell to a consumer. I'm looking at it from a more B2B business side, as opposed to just saying I want to sell a house. So because I'm a member of Chicago Association of Realtors. We have 16,000 members. So if I have to set myself apart from 16,000 people, how many of those are certified? So I go after things that are different than the normal realtor, in addition to making a living that I concentrate on that, which is why I serve on the boards, because it gives me access to my more typical client base, more corporate clients.
Okay. All right. So I could tell. Just to loop back around. Yeah. I think the two of you could definitely look into that from the construction industry, because you both are minority, so you can be 100% owned minority. And minority is not women; that's separate. So you all could apply for your company, and I encourage you to do that, because from a construction standpoint, if you have a large corporation, because I'm sure they've come to you for partnering, people like that. They will say, hey, I have these minority, like the Walsh Construction of the world. They're looking for construction companies that are people that are construction based. So I definitely encourage you.
Or you can partner with us and we can get the women.
Exactly. You can be the minority.
I think we found a new partner.
Yes. Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right, cool. So it's important to get these certifications and designations, because there's opportunities out here for us. Yes. A lot of times we as minorities kind of feel like we're getting left out or left behind, but there have been certain things that have been carved out for us that we just need to make sure we're qualified for, so that we can take advantage of it.
And that's the reason why I made that the definition of the day for this episode, because we need the homies, we need our listeners to understand that this exists.
Yes.
This is a lane for us to get into some big deals.
And there's paperwork. That's usually the biggest drawback that I hear. People don't want to fill out the paperwork, but it's,
But when you're ready, I mean, you can hire somebody to do the paperwork for you.
But the paperwork is stuff that you should have, bank accounts. My thing is, how much money are you making? This is an opportunity to make this. If you are okay with just staying complacent, which is fine, I'll take that.
Right.
But the paperwork, you can hire someone, and I can put you in touch with people that do that for a living.
That's right.
And it's not even that. It's very cost effective, because the city have people that do that for you as well. But I encourage. So next time I come back here, I want you guys to be in process of your application, because you all are already primed and ready to go.
All right. No doubt. All right, so this actually takes us to our homecoming event. So basically what I do is we look at events that are happening in the world, in the country, but this one is actually closer to home. Chicago is hiring 7 new city planners, and here's why that matters. The city planners have their hand in every aspect of the built environment: zoning, historic preservation, development policy, waterway infrastructure, industrial corridors, park space, and affordable housing. Soon, Chicago will employ the largest number of planners it's had in recent history. The Department of Planning and Development is hiring 7 new planners, which would mean that it's up to a total of 32 now. I think that's important because, well, there's one other piece to this. Neighborhoods will be broken up into 7 divisions, and the planners will work directly with aldermen and community stakeholders in those areas. They will have a partnership with the aldermen and work to bring in and develop through proactive rather than reactive strategies. So, have you, been a part of or sat in on any meetings talking about what these planners are doing and how it's going to change things for the development of the city?
So I just heard about it recently, and I am a member, and you all should come. Shy Acre African Americans in Commercial Real Estate. We had a meeting at Jones Lang LaSalle that Maurice Cox came, who is the new, what's his title? He's a
Commissioner of Planning and Development. We just met with him at City Hall a couple weeks ago.
Right. Yeah. So he explained what it was, and so I think he's still in the process of finalizing all of them. And I guess the work that is needed in this Invest Southwest can't be just done by a couple of plans. They needed people more targeted. So I'm just learning about that. I met the one that's actually in charge of my neighborhood. I'm pretty excited because she's definitely she's been around with this. She knows the city process, and she's very sharp. So I'm excited to see what they have, and and anything I'm willing to do. I don't want to get on that board or anything, but I'm just gonna,
So what I'm curious about is like what makes you excited, because I'm kind of, it's still kind of vague to me exactly what they plan to do. But the city planner are they going to be like working with developers to like guide them through? Okay, this is some city-owned property, and we want this to be developed a certain way.
So the excitement is not so much of the project; is that okay? I have a person I can talk to. So I think it is vague, and I think that's part of the issues now, because it's like they're trying to say, okay, we'll listen to you for development. If you got any ideas, you can help us with this. When you're talking about tenant issues, so I think it's a multitude of things. But I just think that now it could be a person that I can say, what is it? I'm talking about these tenant issues. Is there something I talk to you about? Can you point me in the direction? Is there a meeting about XYZ? How do I insert myself? How do I get comments to the city if you pass a new ordinance? Like, it's a couple of things they're trying to do. Some ordinance changes that they're trying to pass that, they've gotten tenants involved, but they haven't gotten the owner, the landlord involved. So I'm excited about the opportunity to kind of collaborate. Now, I've never known a planner before, so maybe that's why I'm excited, because I haven't had really access like that. And I just think it'll be like Maurice Cox have made himself available. Like, I don't know. I haven't had that type of access with the city in a while. So I'm hoping it's more transparency and things like that. That's what I'm excited about, the opportunity, because before it wasn't even a chance to even have a conversation.
Yeah, he comes off very transparent.
Yes.
And in fact, the first time we met him was at the NOMA Christmas party, a national organization of minority architects. And 5 minutes into the conversation, we both found out that our people are from the Bahamas. So and I'm saying that to say that he's willing to speak to you as just a person.
Exactly. So how many times have you met somebody from the city? It's like, hey, how are you doing? This is my car. Give me a call. But now you kind of made that personal connection, because we know somebody because he's from Detroit. So he said, so-and-so, she took a selfie. Like, I'm going to send it to so-and-so. So it's like that, So regardless of, at least there's an opportunity to say, you know what, hey, you may not remember my name, but we talked this. You can kind of have some sort of connection. Then he may direct me in the direction that I need to go to. So the jury's still out on everybody. Politics is politics. But
I'll just say this. I feel as optimistic as I ever have about what city officials are doing now. I feel like we're in a new era of transparency with some. But I will say the aldermen of the wards that we're in, which is the 7th and the 20th.
I'm in 7.
And Maurice Cox. And, there are certain people that we're dealing with directly who are very transparent. They can have open lines of communication, and we have a clear plan on, like, okay, this is what they're trying to do, and so now we can actually try to figure out how we can help and work and do what we want to do and accomplish these goals together. So I'm optimistic. I'll just put it that way.
Okay. I mean, That's all we have. If we can't, if we can't be optimistic, then it's nothing.
Right. So at this point, I want to ask you about your dream plan execute moment in your life. And what I mean by that is, as far as your business is concerned, or any projects you've worked on, can you give us something that you dreamed of, the way you wrote out your plans to get to it, and how you executed the actions you took?
So, okay, I can share a couple of things. So, being a small business but not formal training, you sometimes have those down moments where you just don't even, why did I do this? Mm-hmm. Can I do this? Can I go on? And so it was when actually I had a business partner, and things dissolved after a while, and so I was at a crossroads where I didn't even really have the passion for real estate, and everybody was like, how can you not have passion? So the drive was taken out of me, so I had to take a step back, and I said, okay, because when you are on the lowest, like your mentors would tell you, you can be here and here in a matter of moments. And so I was at a low point just from a beat down and from a financial moment, and I had to say, is this something that I really need to do? Because as an entrepreneur, is this what I'm supposed to do? Am I supposed to be working a job? It's okay to work a job, but I had to sit down. So I sat and I said, okay, I'll give it a year. And so I kind of wrote down some things, some goals that I set for myself, and I said, I'll give it my all, because right now I'm not feeling positive about my path. And so I sat there and I said, and then you want to make an impact, because that's part of the story. Because I don't have children, but I have 2 nephews, and I want to make sure I impact them in a positive way because they got my last name. So
that's right.
I had to sit down, took a deep breath. Literally, I sat down and took a deep breath and said, okay, if real estate is what you intend to do, you need to really write it down and what your intentions are. So for 1 year straight, I grinded and hustled like I probably never have, and I was able to get out of the hole. And now where I am now has far exceeded what I thought. And so now I'm in the process of rewriting my business plan, and so it's just it's taking it to the next level. And so from that, I kind of had some reflection on that, like in the past couple of months. So I'm looking to partner with the Chicago Association of Realtors, a foundation, and start a scholarship for realtors, not so much of getting their license, because we have stuff for that, but I'm looking for people that's been in the business for 3 years or more, women with an emphasis on women of color, and paying for things like our central lock boxes are $100 and some, or we have events, like we have a couple of signature events, they're like $100 and something a ticket. I was always invited to those events. I was always given the opportunity. And so I'm not saying that people can't afford it, but if you're not even given an opportunity, you don't even know it's out there, that you want to be a part of that. Right. And I want to make sure that, okay, if I'm on all these boards, clearly there's a lack of people that look like me. So I need to start pulling people that look like me so they can keep that going. So I'm going to start that scholarship to say, you know what, I bought a table at this event. This is for the, I'm thinking of some things. So this XYZ scholarship, I have 10 seats. Your dues, our dues, people, that's even though you can make a lot of money, but it can cost if you're not making any money. If there's 10 people I want to pay their dues for this quarter, how does that look? So just little things, because little things help more, so they go a long way, because people don't always need hundreds and hundreds of thousands. But if you just say, hey, I got a seat at this event, people just want access. Right. And so I'm looking at that's my give back portion to it.
Awareness and access is everything.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so this actually brings us to, and I need this off the top of your head.
Okay.
All right. When you hear the term homecoming, what does it mean to you?
Homecoming to me means don't forget where you came from, for me. So, and I'm not saying people, you can take it however you want to, but I know where I come from a standpoint, not necessarily where I live, but how I was brought up. And so how I was brought up, just on the South Side and things, it's important to don't forget that, because things that were instilled in me at a young age, I practice now, like character, honesty, just being somebody, a go-to person, just those characters that build you as a person. So don't forget where you came from. And when you get something, don't think that you're entitled to that. Like it was because of how you was brought up at home is why you got that. So don't forget that. So that's my homecoming.
All right. So growing up, there's so many different types of homecomings: high school, college, family reunions, things of that nature. Can you give us a homecoming story, something that happened at some point in your life that was interesting or awkward or whatever it is?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Something from when it relates to...
When you think of homecoming, so like something that happened when you came back to wherever it is that you came back to.
Oh, well, so we never had a car growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at, like as I look at people now that can't survive on the bus, I think of that as an excuse. So I'm like, I was super transfer, and then I moved to the suburbs, so that was a different lifestyle as far as with cars and stuff. So when I think of homecoming, it was nothing for me to walk places, like learning, like I grew up in Pullman and walked to Rose and just learn how to swim. So homecoming, it was like, okay, we walked to it was like far. And when I look back on it, so now I look like kids aren't walking and they say they lazy and stuff like this. So that, right. So now I got to figure out like how my nephews, know that it's TV, like understand where you came from. So know you got to work hard, and that just because P has a car doesn't mean that you get a car. You have to work for it to get it. So that's kind of like my homecoming. That's off the top of my head. So I don't know if there's a right or a wrong answer to that.
No, there's no right or wrong answer.
All right, good.
No, I want it to be, what is it mean to you? Where's it coming from? Like, my day, I walk 5 miles in the snow, barefoot.
And that's what my father used to tell me. My grandmother was like, no, he didn't. That is not true. He never walked. He went to private school, so no.
All right. So at this point, I want to move to the charitable section of this. Is there a charitable cause or organization that you would like to highlight or make people aware of?
Yes, we actually had our second... We were on WGN. We had actually had our second anniversary this past Sunday. So I'm a part of. It's under the umbrella of the Chicago Foundation for Women, who's ran by Felicia Davis. And there are giving circles, North Shore. So it was a Southside Giving Circle started. So we put an emphasis on raising money for women and girls focused nonprofits on the South Side that don't have a name. So the first year, it was just some friends that got together, asked me to join. We raised $33,000. Nice. And then this year we raised $55,500. This is our second year. We both had them both at Gallery Gouchard, and we give organizations that have, when I say no money or little money, they don't have access. So we use our resources. And it's a bunch of amazing women that are involved. So they're called Queen Makers. They're on Facebook, Chicago Foundation for Women Southside Giving Circle, but it was just on WGN, and we were highlighted at our event. So definitely something that I'll want to invite you to next year to kind of come to our annual event.
All right, no doubt. All right, cool. So we're coming to the close of this Homecoming with the Downer Brothers episode, but we need for people to know where they can find you.
Instagram.
If your business or whatever.
Website.
So
all of that.
Well, my business name, Ware Realty Group, and then I have a hashtag Ware in the World, so play on my last name. But the easiest way is my Instagram, Sarah Ware, or Ware Sarah L, but Sarah Ware, you can find me, and then my website, personally, it'll lead to all, sarahware.com. So those are two that you can find me. But Instagram, shoot me a DM. I like saying that.
All right. All right. So great. Thank you, Sarah, for coming in and sharing your homecoming story on Homecoming with the Downer Brothers. And stay tuned for Anthony's After Set. All right. Thank you, homies, for sticking around for Anthony's After Set. As many of you know at this point, the After Set is to inspire, to leave some words with you so you can carry on out into the world and truly dream, plan, and execute. Today, what I want to leave you with is that you don't hustle your way up. You serve your way up. Be a servant. Many of the opportunities that have come to the Downer Brothers have come because we've chose to serve. Not to be transactional, not to make as much money as possible, but to make the experience as good for our people, for our clients, for our community, for whoever we're serving, to make it about the people that we are with. We've chosen to be public servants as firefighters, to serve people and to help people. And if you truly serve in whatever it is that you're doing, you'll find a fulfilling life ahead of you. Don't try to just hustle, and get as much as you can get. Think about serving. Think about solving problems. Think about the way that you can help everyone around you. If you truly serve, you'll get everything that you dream of. Don't hustle your way up. Serve your way up. Be a servant. Go out into the world and make it happen. I'm looking forward to all the great things that all the homies are going to do. Check you out next time. This is Anthony's After Set.
Thank you for tuning in to Homecoming with the Downing Brothers podcast. For more information on how to dream, plan, execute in real estate, business, and financial literacy, visit www.thedowningbrothers.com.